All right, gracious afternoon to all those who are listening to me right now. If we don't fix Africa, we will if we don't put into action the right steps to secure the future. For our children, we will. Leadership will always take the larger portion of the blame, but I'm afraid the way Africa or the way Africans are still going about it seems like we don't have a clue. We stay real on this platform again. I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, your executive producer, your scriptwriter, name it. My name remains Kike Atanda-Owo Abati. I think it's important for us to hear what on this day initial segment has for us. When I return, I'll give my 2 cents on it. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. My takeaway from on this initial segment today is about this story of Chinese men being adopted in Nasarawa in 2009, to be precise, that further, exposes the systematic problems that we have. And this has contributed to lack of safety in investment in Nigeria, and of course, which also resulted in businesses and large corporations leaving Nigeria when some elements, create insecurity in a system for political selfish reasons, or political or selfish reasons. The turnaround implications affect everybody in the whole system. So on this initial segment is reminding us about what history has put in place. So I think it's important for us to get the message from my sponsors, those who have put me on this platform. When I return, we'll dive straight to the topic at hand. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. Let's just dive straight to the topic at hand. The Fiona Nwamba, a 35-year-old mother of 3, tragically passed away on October 20th, 2024 during a scheduled cesarean session at a government hospital. Her husband, Kellion, alleges medical negligence, claiming doctors removed her fibroid and womb without his consent following the delivery of their baby boy. The planned procedure turned fatal, leaving a grieving family, shattered and raising concerns about the quality of maternal care in Nigeria. According to reports, more than 80,000 Nigerian women died from pregnancy, related to pregnancy-related complications in 2020. Despite having the largest economy in Africa, Nigeria also loses more women to death in childbirth than most other countries in the world. And in 2022, about 82,000 Nigerian women died due to pregnancy-related complications, a slight improvement on the previous year, but an increase on previous decades. Again, on today's episode on Real Talk with Kike, I'm going to be diving into the alarming issues of maternal mortality in Nigeria, one of the most critical public health challenges facing the nation today. Despite advances in healthcare, the maternal mortality rate in Nigeria remains one of the highest in the world, with thousands of women losing their lives during pregnancy and childbirth annually. But before we delve into the Real Talk with Kike issue, I guess we've played the profile of my guest. I think it's important for us to bring in my guest right now, Dr. Emmanuel Ladoni. It's a pleasure to have you on Real Talk with Kike today via our studio in Abuja. Many thanks for creating time to be here. How are you today? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, fantastic. Good to have you. Many thanks. Let's just dive straight to the issue at hand, because I know that we are running out of time. We are trying to get to the root causes of these issues and not necessarily attacking any doctor or medical institution. But as the data has shown that Nigeria has the 4th highest mortality rate in the world, you are an expert gynecologist, and I feel that as an obstetrician, with years of experience in the Nigerian system, what do you think went wrong with the Fiona case at Island Maternity?
Thank you. About the case, although what we have or what we have seen is the story as reported by the relation, not heard from the hospital and all that. So it can only make us to be able to make some allusions or have some opinion about things that could have happened. But maternal mortality, as we know, is a topical issue in the setting where we practice, and it's sadly the rates are high, just like has been said. In this case of Fiona, where she had an elective cesarean section, they ended up having a myomectomy in the course of the surgery, and eventually led to what we call hysterectomy. The uterus had to be removed, and eventually, sadly, led to the death of the patient. It's a sad occurrence, and what we might say as specialists, even though where we practice in our setting, or even generally in everywhere in the world, when you go in for a surgery or a procedure, you have your surgeries planned out. There's issue of taking consent before you go in for your procedure, and then the consent should have explained things at the extent of the procedure, things that could happen, who is to do the surgery, and kind of anesthesia, possible alternatives and complications, and patient has signed an informed consent before the procedure. In the case of myomectomy during cesarean section, is not something that is well favored by many obstetricians, because we know that during such surgery, by the time the uterus has, by the time a pregnant uterus has a high risk of bleeding, and by the time you now combine the other factors like fibroid, they say the safest surgeon is the one that knows what to avoid during surgery. So we tend to avoid doing myomectomy during cesarean section. Myomectomy will mean removal of fibroid. But there are some instances where, even though it is not what you planned, you want to deliver a baby and the fibroid is standing on your way. In such instances, you might have no choice than to remove the fibroid so that you can access the baby. We never can say maybe this is what happened in this case, and it happens at times. Though most times you will have preempted it as a surgeon and also taken precautions should such an incident happen. For example, blood should have been made available and some other things should have been put in place, which maybe they have done or they did, we could not say because we didn't hear from them. So that is what I thought could have happened in this case.
Many thanks for your submission on that, but I'm still on this Fiona's lady's matter who died as a result of cesarean section complication already, who had fibroid. I like the fact that you emphasize on that, and of course I feel that there is going to be all those antenatal care scans, etc., that would have reviewed all of this, including the fact that she was O negative blood type, because those are some of the things that I read online. With the doctors having all this information, what could have been done differently to save the life of this woman after birth, even with such complications as the story narrates? Because the reason why I'm asking this question, I know that yes, you've elaborated on, you know, some of the issues that you think that could have been avoided, but how much of Nigerians' maternal mortality rates can be attributed to inadequate medical infrastructure, and medical infrastructure in the sense that what immediate investments are needed to bridge this gap? Because this situation at hand, if you listen to me earlier, I quoted quite a number of thousands of people who have passed because of the issue at hand. Several government policies aim to address maternal health. How effective have these policies been thus far? And what changes would you as a doctor suggest to improve the outcomes?
Okay, thank you. To prevent maternal mortality, actually the responsibility is on everybody. And when we talk about the different models of how this mortality occurs, we have the level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 3 is when we talk about things that happen within the healthcare system. That is, the patient has made the decision, he has gotten to the healthcare facility. Now at the healthcare facilities, the problems that happen, that's like all at the level 3 delay. And this is like what we could say have happened in this case of Fiona. The challenges at this level is that, as we know, our health system has this challenge generally from the fact that, well, there's a shortage of manpower is there, manpower factor is there, infrastructure problems are there, funding problems are there, and lots of other issues. And I would think that this case of she's at high risk because of the fibroid that she had, and for her to have been scheduled for an elective cesarean section. By elective, it means that it didn't come as an emergency, so there should have been some time to do some planning, which may have been done in this case, like making blood available for the patients, doing all the necessary tests and investigation. We know the blood level of the patient, you know the type of the blood group of the patients, and you would have seen that this patient is O negative. O negative is a rare blood group type, or rhesus negative blood is rare, and for such a blood type that you know that it might be difficult to get. Usually, preparations are made ahead to make adequate numbers of units of blood available before the procedure. And also, you want to make sure that the people that do handle the case are people that are skilled enough to do the case. And at times, even despite that they are skilled enough, there could also be backup. Like we do, okay, this procedure, envisaging there might be challenges, but I also need some backup from my colleagues and all that, ensure that there is adequate blood facility. And even if there are challenges, we want to, there should also be expertise to manage challenges that could occur in such a process. Like also one of the challenges that people have in such a procedure is that when you are doing a surgery like that and patient is bleeding, there are things that could be done to reduce or to stop the bleeding. There are surgical techniques you could use. There are drugs you could use, oxytocin and all the likes, and all different agents that can minimize blood loss. And also some procedure that like a makeshift procedure that you can do to arrest the bleeding. And if all this fails, the next thing or the final bus stop is hysterectomy, which is to remove the womb of the patient. That is if every other thing has been tried, and just to save the life of the patient. So in this case, we don't know the extent of what the practitioners have put in place or what they have done, the specifics of what they did in this surgery before it led to this incident. But generally, it's an high-risk case that needed to be managed with caution. And apart from having a good expertise, there are also things that should have been put in place to mitigate any challenge during the procedure.
Many thanks for that insight. Now let me take this conversation to rural area. There's shortage of skilled birth attendants and healthcare workers in rural areas. We have seen thousands leave Nigeria to become healthcare workers in Europe, in UK, in America and Canada. In the last 5 years, it is an irony that our people will be dying when we have human resources to fill into these professions. What can be done to recruit, or will I say train, as a trainer myself, and retain more healthcare professionals in underserved communities?
Yes, in the rural areas, the challenges are even more. In that, when we're talking about level 1 delay, this is where most of them take place. For example, making decisions to access the healthcare facilities. In the rural areas, apart from the shortage of healthcare facilities in some places, some women are not even aware of their reproductive health rights. They are not allowed, maybe due to cultural and religious reasons, can't even make some key decisions about their health, where they want to access care and all that. Some need permission to access health care. We have teenage pregnancies. We have underage or women that are underage that get pregnant and things like that, that need an adult to make a decision for them. Then even when we are talking about shortage of manpower, it's even more in the rural area, despite the fact that in Nigeria, doctor to population ratio, which according to what the organization is supposed to be like 1 to 600, in Nigeria we have 1 to 9,000 and something, almost 1 to 10,000, which shows that there is a severe shortage of manpower. And then we've heard of Japa syndrome within the health sector, people living by the roofs and all that. Those problems are even more at the rural settings. And at the rural area, there are even some communities that to access standard healthcare facility, you have to travel kilometers. Some have bad roads, some are unmotorable. Labor occurs in the middle of the night. It's difficult to access healthcare and all that. Those are some of the challenges, coupled with the fact that some of the drugs we use, because when we are talking about maternal mortality, some of the drugs that we use to tackle obstetric hemorrhage, which is one of the main causes, some of them require a very good cold chain. In how many of the rural areas do we have this cold chain? Some of them have a shortage of electricity. All these problems are things that make practice at the rural settings even more challenging. And then when there are no competent hands to handle some of these cases, we have patients ending up in some rugged, maybe that's the best that is available to them in the community. And then the obstetric injuries are even worse in some of these settings. So rural settings have a very severe challenge when it comes to maternal health maternal mortality in Nigeria. And a lot still has to be done to improve level of health care and the standard of health care in these settings.
Many thanks for that. But listening to your submission right now, I think it leads me to budget, because budget allocation for healthcare in Nigeria are often criticized as insufficient. How can the government prioritize maternal health funding now is another matter that I believe that we should bring to fore listening to you. And how do you further invite and encourage the private bodies into this sector to cover for this deficiency that is ongoing at the moment in rural areas?
Yes, generally, our healthcare sector needs more funding in terms of things that are, in terms of facilities, things that are available, even in terms of manpower. So our policymakers have to improve. We have to improve in how much funding is made available to the healthcare sector, and this should even be made to reach the underserved communities. Because this is where some of the major, most of the challenging problems that we have them in urban settings too, but rural settings also require a lot of attention, a lot of funding, and ensuring that there is adequate manpower. If rural practice is made attractive, we will have more competent hands settling down in rural areas rather than the rural-urban migration and all that. And if healthcare personnel are well taken care of, if you have good resources, facilities, electricity, water, and all the things that you use your trade proficiently in the rural settings, but people will stay there, and then the life and the healthcare can improve, and generally, and then specifically maternal healthcare in the rural areas, maternal and child healthcare. So it's really an area that we need to look into and make sure it is not neglected in our country.
Thank you for all your elaborate submission thus far. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, the conversation will continue. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, glad to know you're still right there with us. In case you just joined the show, today's conversation is about the continuous rise of maternal mortality in Nigeria. And of course, our real talks stemmed from the incident of a mother of three who lost her life during the process of cesarean section. And we're unpacking the root causes of this crisis, ranging from limited healthcare access and, of course, poor infrastructure in poverty and cultural barriers, while exploring how policies, interventions and community-driven solutions are working to reduce the maternal deaths. And my guest today, Dr. Emmanuel Oladuni, an expert gynecologist, is driving into critical discussion on maternal health care and sharing actionable strategies for improving healthcare system in Nigeria. Is also highlighting the importance, of antenatal care, skilled birth attendants, and of course, innovative approaches to address, the healthcare system gaps in Nigeria, to be precise. And I want to say many thanks for all that you've shared thus far, Dr. Oladuni. And let me use this opportunity to quickly open the phone lines. Remember that you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio number 081-188-88113, showing on your screen right now. And of course, we're streaming live both on Real Talk with Kike platform and on Silverbird platform on Facebook. And let me come to you, Dr. Oladuni. Again, many thanks for all that you've shared thus far. But in cases like Fiona's allegations of procedures that have been done, without consent, raised in terms of ethnical concerns, because the ethnical concerns is something that I feel that I need to touch on before moving on to other things. Which body or bodies governs the practices and outcomes of mortality rates in Nigeria? I don't want to believe that is the statutory function of the Nigerian Medical Association. I would like you to throw more light on this in terms of how can healthcare system enforce strict consent policies and protect patients especially patients' rights during childbirth?
Thank you once again. The importance of consent for procedures cannot be overemphasized. It is a very, very key aspect of healthcare. And as a surgeon, even without doing surgery, you want to do an examination, you need to take verbal consent. But when it comes to procedures where you have to make an incision, cut something, or what do you call it, an invasive procedure, there has to be an informed written consent, and which I believe most people do. On the question about which body regulates the medical practice in Nigeria, is the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. But apart from that, we also have different institutions. They have their governing bodies, they have their different, there's a chain of administration that regulates how things are practiced in the different institutions. So back to the issue of consent, it is very, very important, and it is very, very necessary. And its procedures should be explained to the patient, the name of the procedure, what is to be done, the extent, the possible alternatives. And in fact, this is not even what is done at once. For a patient that has been with you in clinic, you will have started the counseling and in the clinic, explained everything to the patient. And then shortly before the surgery, we are preparing the patient. The consents are usually taken. The patient is allowed to ask all the questions they want to ask, or if there's any area of doubts, things that need to be clarified. It should be clarified before the surgery, before the patient actually puts a signature and signs that, okay, I agree, I trust you to carry on this procedure. And that is the standard of practice. That is the standard of practice in any standard setting. And I believe that is what we do in where we have a standard, where we have professionals doing procedure.
Yeah, you again, many thanks. But the truth of the matter is that single incidents that like this has affected our society. A widow has been made and 3 children have become motherless. As a mother, I'm trying to feel the pain of others. What mechanism, Dr. Laduni, should be in place to hold healthcare providers accountable for negligence? And how can this mechanism also ensure that justice for victims are detailed for future lapses?
Yeah, thank you. In many institutions, we have an inquiry into issues of maternal mortality. Actually, every case of maternal mortality is reportable, because when we are talking about figures, they are not just figures, they are lives of, we're talking about the life of a woman, the life of a mother, a wife, and all that. So it's very, very crucial. And there's many institutions have a confidential inquiry into causes of maternal deaths. And when it occurs, they set up an in-house investigation to find out what are the things that went wrong, what's happened, and what happened. And they have internal mechanisms of dealing with these issues in most times. And if there are errors or things that are case of things that should be corrected, I believe they have different mechanisms of handling this in different institutions. And we also have, if the issues are escalated to the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, they also have the mechanisms whereby they take corrective measures to ensure that these issues don't keep on repeating itself. But generally, it's all about maintaining the standard ethics in our practice, ensuring things are done properly, painstakingly, and ensuring that we have the right people doing the right procedures, who have the right level of skill and expertise to handle it, and then also ensuring that patients' rights are taken into consideration and are well and the patients are given all their rights and they are properly taken care of in our practice. So thank you.
This will be my last question to you, and the reason why I'm asking you these two questions first is how can partnerships rather between government, private sectors, and non-governmental organizations drive that implementation of effective maternal health programs what's it called in Nigeria? That would be my first question to you. And my second question is the fact that I remember yesterday, you know, trying to rub minds with my husband, and he was talking about, you know, traditional integration into the present healthcare system. So I'm trying to bring that into community engagements now that often plays a vital role in improving health outcomes. How can grassroots efforts and traditional birth attendants be integrated into maternal health strategies to just complement formal healthcare system? You know, I'm just trying to infuse both in a way that we all can achieve or reduce some of the healthcare challenges that we have today.
Yeah, thank you. At the local level, the education is key, or advocacy. You know, where we have traditional birth attendants, we have people that practice in faith-based homes. Many of them are not specialists, but then some of them have been practicing this, and it's what we need to do is to bring these people together, make them to recognize their limits. You understand? Normally, we should deliveries should be handled by skilled birth attendants, but another key thing that is important at all levels is that each person should recognize their limits. They know their limits. They know this is what I can handle. This is what I should not handle. Then our referral system also needs to be more elaborate. It needs to be more functional. There are issues that are seen at the grassroots that should be referred to a higher level of care. It should be done properly, so to ensure that we tackle some of the basic issues, because some of the reasons why people seek healthcare at a very low level is when they don't even have enough funding. Some people are still struggling with issue of poverty, hunger. Some cannot afford, are still struggling with feeding, having good nutrition. Not to talk of now paying for healthcare and all that. So those are issues that can be tackled at the local level, making things subsidizing healthcare, making it affordable and available at all levels. Also, we need to work on health insurance, making it available, improving the coverage of health insurance, whereby you don't even need to be a government worker before you can access healthcare through health insurance, and we need to make it functional. And when it comes to partners helping to solve some of these problems, they will be very useful in the area of education, in the area of funding, and in the area of procurement of some of the infrastructures that are needed at this level. The other time I talked about cold chain. There is no how you could have a successful obstetric practice if some of the drugs you use, some of them are hormonal drugs, you need electricity, so you need cold chain to preserve them. In many of the rural areas, thank God we have some of these that are now coming as its stable form, but a lot still has to be preserved in cold chain. In areas where you don't have good electricity supply, you know, you have issues with power and all that. These are challenges that that need to be addressed, and partners can actually come to help to solve some of these issues, both at the local level and even at the urban settings. Also, training of and retraining of healthcare workers, capacity building, and these are some of the things that could be done in the area of partnership and the funding, and also there should be a system of reward and punishment in quotes in the healthcare system, so that to encourage people that are working hard and all that. These are some of the things that can make our system to work better.
Thanks, many thanks for all your submission thus far on Real Talk with Kike today, and of course for coming on the show. It's been an interesting time with you on this platform. And of course, before I let you go, let's discuss some trending stories. This is where I have an opinion as a host, you know. And the trending stories are stories that bind us as Africans, as Nigerians. And the first trending story that I will be touching on is the 7 powerful lessons from Chidinma Adetshina, the incredible journey of the present, you know, Miss Universe Africa and Oceania. And for me, if you ask me, Chidinma's Vanessa Adetshina's journey is one of grace. Grace is what appeals to me when I think about a story, the resilience, the power of second chances. You know, I will clearly say that she is an inspiration to second chances, a life narrative that where you think you failed, you know, you moved elsewhere and you will shine like a star or like stars and be celebrated. You know, born in South Africa to a Nigerian father and Mozambique mother, you know, and she faced intense criticism when she competed in Miss South Africa. And the controversy around her mother's nationality caused a stir that shouldn't have been her own burden to carry, if you ask me. But instead of, you know, letting it break her, Chidinma rose above, you know, the backlash. You know, she embraced her Nigerian heritage and made history on her terms. But, you know, when South Africa turned its their back on her, you know, Nigeria welcomed her with open arms. You know, many thanks to Silverbird Group. She was encouraged to compete, you know, in the most beautiful girl in Nigeria. And I think Taraba State, she represented Taraba State and won. And many thanks also to Mrs. Abike Dabiri, you know, the chairman of NIDCOM, and Lagos State for celebrating her and showing her that Nigeria, you know, stands firmly with their own, or with its own. So Chidinma's story just reminds us that we must approach, or rather appreciate and nurture our talent at home. Sometimes, you know, our people shine brighter when they feel supported. You know, that's myself and Chidinma earlier today showing on the screen. You know, our grace is evidence, not just in how she carries herself, but in how she turned rejection into an opportunity to inspire others. From most beautiful girl in Nigeria to becoming Miss Universe Africa, Oceania, and of course first runner-up at Miss Universe 2024. Her success shows that, you know, God's timing is always perfect. Our victory is not just for her, but for all of us, if you ask me. It reminds us that challenges can be stepping stones. And as I can see with Chidinma's case, rejection didn't define her. It didn't refine her either. As Nigerians, let's use this case study. Let's continue to celebrate her as well and invest in talents like ours, because the world is watching and our greatness speaks volume. So Chidinma is proving that no matter where we are, with the determination and God's grace, we will rise. Again, I want to say congratulations to Chidinma. You've made us all proud, and I'm so proud of you. I wish you God's favor, God's continuous favor and wisdom in navigating the crown and the future that awaits you. And I think it's important for me to come to my guest. I'm sure you must have seen this. What's your take on this trending story on Chidinma Adetshina?
Well, the lesson from our story is that we as Nigerians can actually excel in any field we find ourselves. And despite the challenges, rejection, public opinions, and all of that, you should have something that drives you beyond what other people think, or to bring you down, and to make sure that despite all, you still excel and get focused in what you are doing. And with that, we have Africans, we have Nigerians excelling at different fields of life, and this could happen to anyone that decides to stay focused and decides to get motivated and pursue their goals. That's the lesson I learned from our story.
Second trending story that caught my attention is that of every time we miss paying our tithe, we return to square one. That was said by Pastor Dr. Becky Paul-Enenche. Yeah, I don't know if I pronounced the last name properly. And for me, honestly, I wish that my technical directors can give me some time, because religiosity and spirituality are big issues in Nigeria. Nigerians are very religious. Churches and mosques are always full, but when it comes to character, ethics, morals, we often fall short. We claim to serve God, but our actions as a people don't reflect uprightness, if you ask me. I will be honest on this platform. I keep it real on this platform. In the past, if something bad happened to me or happens to me, I used to think that it was because I didn't pay my tithe on time. That belief came from the heavy emphasis on tithing in many churches today. Personally, I tread carefully when it comes to talking about religious leaders, especially because of my background as a Muslim, or in Islam, there's zakat that we refer to in Islam, but it's mainly for the rich who can afford it. There's no unnecessary pressure on everyone to pay when it comes to zakat. However, even now, some imams are also exploiting people under the guise of charity for their own selfish interest. This generation of prosperity-driven gospel is a deviation from the true gospel, if you ask me. Many thanks to people like Daddy Freeze, who have opened our eyes to the truth in the scriptures. He has educated us on tithing. I personally have been educated or been schooled when it comes to tithing because of him, and now believe that giving to orphanages, motherless babies home, widows, single mothers, students, or even directly to the needy aligns more with the spirit of true giving. How can a woman or anyone stand on the pulpit and say people will go back to square one if they don't pay their tithes? That's insensitive and putting undue pressure on people already struggling in this harsh economy. Misquoting scriptures to propagate the prosperity gospel that has already derailed so many people. It's so sad. Churches and mosques today have even been implicated in money laundering, as reviewed by EFCC. Some religious leaders, instead of addressing corruption, other prayers for the same politicians, destabilizing our country. The focus has shifted from gods to money, and this failure has derailed our youth. Many now see prostitution and fraud as normal because our religious centers have lost their way. Let's be factual, guys. Our naira and dollars don't go to heaven. No. They are spent by humans here on earth. These days, I believe that in giving directly where it is needed without all the unnecessary fanfare, it's a fundamental problem that I feel that we must address quickly. If not, things will turn to another thing in this country. And unfortunately, I cannot come to my guest on his own thoughts, but with that, we've come to the end of the edition of Real Talk with Kike. Indeed, we had an awesome show on today's edition of Real Talk with Kike, courtesy my resourceful guest, Dr. Emmanuel Oladuni. But many thanks again. But I will be rounding up today's edition with a video clip of a Thanksgiving celebration of Mrs. Olabumi Bada after retirement from Lagos State Civil Commission with years of dedication and service. And the event took place on 15th of November at the CBD Alausa. I was at the occasion as well, being a family member to the retiree. So it was an occasion to celebrate those who have invested years of their lives into the proper running of the state and delivering their own quota of nation building. I will leave you with this video, and you can catch me, of course, tomorrow at Inspiration FM 92.3. My name is Kike Atanda-Owo.
We are celebrating my wife's 35 years in service. To God be the glory. She has been working for the past 35 years, and she's retiring to the glory of God. And we came here to celebrate him, to thank God for a life well spent in service, and for her being a very dutiful wife. Seriously, if I come back to this world, I still want to choose her as my wife, because she's so wonderful, so dutiful, so hardworking, so loving. In fact, I don't know what adjective to use to qualify her. She's all in all. She's a mother, a sister, whatever a woman should be.
The person that is retiring today is a workaholic person, is a workaholic woman. She comes punctually to the office and she does not play with her job at all. She's an exemplary leader, a woman that one should emulate. So youths that are coming behind should emulate such virtues.
It's the least one could do. I mean, thanking God for 35 years, it's not easy in service. So many things have happened, but to the glory of God, I thank God on behalf of Mrs. Bada, our family, that she lived to see this day.
I'd like to ask, what should we spell for the celebrants? What should we spell for the celebrants? Jesus. All right. If you love Mrs. Olufumi, give me letter J. So that J is not clear. If you love Mrs. Olufumi, give me letter J. After this retirement, you reach a long life of prosperity, give me letter E. You are proud of Mr. and Mrs. Olufumi, give me letter S. You reach hour in life, give me letter U. After this retirement, prosperity forever, give me letter S. What did we spell? Jesus. Thank you very much. I'd like to bring both celebrants to the dance floor.
I just want to thank God. I want to give him all the glory for the grace that I've enjoyed. 35 years ago, precisely, November 15, 1989, I joined the civil service, and here I am now, all through the route of journey. I thank God, and I'm exiting now statutorily, meritoriously, after 35 years. I just want to tell the generation that is coming that they should be patient, and they should be humble. Humility is key. Humility is key, and they should be willing to learn and be intentional about developing themselves.